Hi, this is the video for Daf Kuf Yod of Masechet Ketubot. And I wanted to talk about an issue that comes up in this sugya about whether a ketubah is dioraita or not. I don't want to go over the sugya itself, but I wanted to touch on some of the ramifications. So in the sugya itself, in the passage, in a small piece, probably towards the end of Kuf Yod Amud Bet, there is the statement from Rabbah, who says that this is a case, this Mishnah, about what coinage the person has to use to pay off the ketubah is mikulei ketubah. It's one of the leniencies in regards to ketubah law, and because it's one of the leniencies, the husband can always pay off. He is the debtor after all. He can always pay off according to the lesser coinage. And then the Gemara adds in kasavar ketubah dirabanan. For he holds, the Tanakama of the Mishnah, the first opinion of the Mishnah, holds that the ketubah is of derabanan origin, meaning it is from the rabbis, it is a rabbinic enactment. And then, if the Chachamim, if the sages hold that, then Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, who disagrees with regards to the coinage that he has to pay, and I'm not going to get into the particulars, he holds that the ketubah is dioraita, is from the Torah. So I pointed out in my commentary that it's very difficult to determine the origins of the ketubah. Marriage payments and marriage contracts existed in the world long before the Torah was ever given. And what we have here is more of an issue of the status. Do we consider the status of the ketubah to be dioraita from the Torah, or do we consider the status of the ketubah to be derabanan, of rabbinic authority? Now, I also pointed out that in the Yerushalmi, the Palestinian Talmud, the interpretation of the Mishnah is actually reversed. And they think that the sages hold that the ketubah is dioraita from the Torah, and Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel holds that the ketubah is derabanan, of rabbinic authority, and that's because there's a dispute between the two Talmuds over which coinage is greater. Is the kaputkia, the foreign coinage, greater than that of Eretz Yisrael? And I actually wrote up a whole piece on this for my doctorate, and there's been some interesting articles from it. I wanted to read to you a couple things from one of my favorite books. I think we've spoken about this before, Jewish Marriage in Ancient Palestine, a Cairo Geniza study. And one of the issues that Mordechai Akiva Friedman, the author of this book, talks about is the dispute between the Palestinian sages and the Babylonian sages over the status of the ketubah. And he notes a tshuva, a response of the Gonim, where the person writes, we have received contradictory responses from the Gonim. These are post-Talmudic authorities. Some ruled like Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, who said the ketubah was from the Torah. And accordingly, the texts of the ketubot found in North Africa, since antiquity, have read 200 pieces of silver, which are equivalent to 25 zuz, which are due you according to the Torah. Others, the most recent of whom is Mar Rabbi Hanania, our Lord's father, our master's father, who ruled according to the sages and said that the ketubah is an enactment of the sages. He deprecated whoever wrote according to the Torah and instructed that one must write which are due you. So there's actually two issues in this question. One is, what should we write in the ketubah? Should we write dechazi richi min dioraita, that is due to you from the Torah, or do we write that is due to you, or only that is due to you? And the second sort of lurking here is a little confusing, is how much is the ketubah? One authority writes in here that it's 25 zuz, and of course we have been reading throughout the Masechet that the ketubah is 200 zuz. So that comes up in a whole nother document where we see that in Babylonia, and it was quite regular in Babylonian-style ketubot, to write 25 zuz as opposed to the 200 zuz. Why? Because there's a sugya in the Talmud that says anything that is derabanan, meaning of rabbinic authority, then when we go to pay it out, we pay it out in post-Torah kinds of coinage, which is only worth 1/8. So basically, when the Torah says, or we understand the Torah saying that he owes her 200 zuz, we really assume that that is 25 zuz. And there was a practice to give in Babylonia 25 for a virgin and 12 and a half for a widow or for a divorcee. So because they considered the ketubah d'Rabbanan. It's quite a complicated issue, but what began sort of as a theoretical explanation in the Talmud ends up with strong ramifications. I should note that Babylonians, meaning let's say post-Rishonim, more present day Babylonians, meaning Sfardim, continue to write 25 zuz in their marriage contracts until today. Right? And that's the predominant Babylonian way of doing things, and they're the inheritors, more strictly speaking, of the Babylonian tradition. So Sfardim to this day write 25 zuz in their ketubot, and Ashkenazim, whether or not they're getting this from Eretz Yisrael, from Palestine, or they're getting it from a variant Babylonian custom, Ashkenazim write 200 zuz in their ketubah, and all this stems from that machloket we hear about in our sugya, that dispute about the authority of the ketubah, and also the dispute between the Palestinian stages and the Babylonian ones. I realize it's a little bit confusing, but I thought I would give you a little bit of a taste of the larger ramifications of this issue.